Oluchi stood in the middle of Asaba village square, her voice loud and shaking. "He watched my husband die," she shouted. "And now he is watching me and my children suffer. If this God is real, let him bring rain to my farm now, or stop wasting our time." The crowd went silent. No one moved. Women held their wrappers tight around their bodies. The elders shook their heads. Even the little children stopped playing. Everyone knew you did not talk to God like that. They were sure the heavens would open with fire. But what happened next was something no one in Asaba had ever seen before. Before I dive into the main story, please hit that subscribe button, like, and share this video with your loved ones. I'd also love to know where you are watching from, so drop it in the comments. Thank you. Now, let's get into the story. It all started the day Oluchi's husband died. His name was Namdi. He was a strong man, known across the village for climbing the tallest palm trees to tap sweet palm wine. He had been doing it since he was a boy. People used to say, if you want the sweetest wine, go to Namdi. His hands are steady. His legs are strong. And he knows which trees give the best drink. But one hot afternoon, everything changed. Namdi had gone to tap wine from an old palm tree near the edge of the forest. The tree was tall, taller than any in their farm. No one saw him fall. Some said the rope he used to climb snapped. Others whispered that someone must have pushed him from the spirit world. Whatever happened, by the time they found him, his body was cold. Oluchi's world broke that day. She had no money. She had 2 children, Adana, her teenage daughter, and Chima, her younger son. There was no one to help her. At first, she tried to send them to school, but the fees were too high. Chima stopped going first. Then Adana followed. Oluchi told herself she would find another way. Chima started working at a local mechanic shop, learning how to fix cars. Adana began training with a tailor in the next village, learning how to sew. Oluchi started farming. She planted yam, cassava, pepper, and maize. The plan was simple: when the children finished learning their skills, she would sell her crops and use the money to set them up. 3 years passed. One hot afternoon, Adana came home smiling. "Mama, I'm done," she said. "I've finished my sewing training." Oluchi hugged her. "Don't worry," she said. "This year, when we harvest, I will buy your sewing machine, fabrics, and all you need to start your shop." She also planned to send Chima to the city so he could train with a big mechanic and earn better money. This year's harvest was going to change their lives. But then, the rain stopped. It started slowly. First a week without rain. Then 2 weeks. Then a month. The ground cracked. The leaves on the plants turned brown and dry. Every morning, Oluchi walked to her farm and saw the crops dying a little more. The villagers began to worry. They called a meeting in the square. The elders said the drought was a test from God. They told everyone to fast and pray for rain. Oluchi didn't join them. She had been angry with God since the day Namdi died. She stopped going to church. She stopped praying. And now, as the drought worsened, her anger grew deeper. One evening, she passed by the village square and saw people kneeling, praying loudly for rain. Something inside her broke. She walked into the middle of the crowd. Her voice was sharp. "He watched my husband die. And now he is watching me and my children suffer. If this God is real, let him bring rain to my farm now, or stop wasting our time." The square fell silent. Some women pulled their children away from her. Men shook their heads. The elders whispered that she had invited a curse upon herself. That night, the wind began to blow. It started as a soft breeze, then grew stronger. The moon disappeared behind thick clouds. The smell of rain filled the air. From inside their huts, villagers peeked through their windows, expecting a heavy storm. Some said, "This is the punishment for Oluchi's words. Her farm will be destroyed tonight." But the storm never came. Instead, something strange happened. The clouds gathered above Oluchi's farm, and nowhere else. Gentle rain began to fall, soaking her dry land. From the village square, people could see it clearly: rain on Oluchi's farm, dry ground everywhere else. The rain didn't stop until the soil was soft and the crops were green again. The next morning, Oluchi went to her farm. She stood in the middle of her land, staring at the wet soil and fresh leaves. She didn't understand what she was seeing. The rest of the village was still dry and dusty. Within days, her farm was the only one in Asaba with healthy crops. People whispered behind her back, some saying God was mocking them, others saying he was showing mercy. 2 weeks later, a stranger arrived in the village. He was tall, with kind eyes, and carried a small leather bag. He walked straight to Oluchi's hut and greeted her politely. "I heard your daughter is a tailor," he said. "Yes," Oluchi replied, wondering who had told him. The stranger opened his bag and brought out money. He told Oluchi to take Adana to the market the next day and buy a brand new sewing machine, fabrics, scissors, threads, and all she needed to open a shop. He also gave her money to rent a space for the shop right in the village square. Before Oluchi could speak, the stranger turned to Chima. "You are learning to be a mechanic?" "Yes," Chima said, surprised. The stranger smiled. "Pack your things. You're coming with me to the city. You'll learn from a master mechanic there." Oluchi was speechless. She tried to ask the stranger who he was and why he was helping them, but he only said, "Some gifts don't need explanations." The next day, Adana got her shop. A week later, Chima left with the stranger. Months passed. Adana's shop became the most popular sewing place in the village. She made clothes for weddings, naming ceremonies, and festivals. Chima sent money from the city and promised to return one day with his own car workshop. Not long after, Adana caught the eye of a young prince from a neighboring village. He came often with his mother to sew royal garments. In time, they got married, and Oluchi's joy overflowed. Oluchi's farm continued to produce good harvests. She was no longer bitter. Sometimes she thought about the day she mocked God in the square, and she couldn't explain why. Instead of punishment, she received blessings. She began telling people about God, speaking in the same square where she had once shouted in anger. Her story became a lesson of hope for many. But the villagers never forgot. When they told the story, they always ended it the same way. Sometimes, God answers not with anger, but with mercy that changes everything.